right, good morning. Finally game week. So I'm sure just like everyone across the country and our fan base, our players are excited. So they've put a lot of work in. The thing I guess I'm most impressed with is just how they've sustained a high level of energy, not just the first week or the first 2 weeks. They've really sustained a high level of energy, focus, all the way through camp. And, Saturday was, I think, a great example for us. Had a great practice, just a lot of, just get to work. The same thing I would expect tomorrow, but you kind of get that week out and things like that. And I was just really impressed with our guys' mindset. And yesterday, again, just getting the guys together and getting their workouts and just the film sessions and just the level of attention to detail. They're excited to play and excited to hit someone else. Really looking forward to this Saturday against a Western Kentucky team that, coached by Coach Helton. A lot of respect. I know our staff has a lot of respect, both sides of the ball, myself included. We know Coach Helton's done a great job there at Western Kentucky as well as the rest of his career. Going to be, a great football game. Got a coach with a offensive mindset. I think defensively we got to make sure we're aware of what they're going to do to attack us, and there's a lot of questions I think in both sides of the ball, all phases, especially the first game. Depth charts and things like that. You just pretty much looking at a roster and trying to place all the transfers and all the guys that are returning, especially on their team, trying to place those into spots that you might expect and figure out the numbers the best you can. So looking forward to another great week here going into the game, and excited about it where we're at. So questions?
Start with left side, Chase.
Coach, at your introductory press conference in January, you mentioned you were asked about the offensive system from Washington, and you mentioned that to some extent you also need to play to your personnel. So going into week one, to what extent have you had to adjust what you did at Washington to suit the personnel you inherited?
Yeah, I think every year. It isn't even just about one school to another. I think it's the roster you have. And each year that gets tweaked a little bit. You might be running back, with a little more depth, or tight ends, is your one of your key areas. I think we're very balanced across all of the skill positions. And then, of course, you look at your quarterback, you look at the strength, what you can do offensive line-wise. And so it's never exactly from one year to the next, even if there's a lot of continuity, because you're going to lose someone. So there's certainly some adjustments that Coach Sheridan, our staff, has done in really working with the personnel. So, that will continue to evolve as the season goes along. You have guys that continue to improve, especially younger guys or guys that are kind of taking those next steps. They'll make those big steps, and you'll really incorporate them, and it might be a package at some point that they're incorporated in, and then all of a sudden it's something where they're a regular player and maybe even a starter.
Go back row right, Jamie, and we'll go Ryan right after that.
Hey, Coach, what do you get first game jitters about?
Well, I talked to the team, and I think what it really comes down to, and are you asking specifically for me? I don't know if you get like jitters, but I think it's good to have butterflies, right? It's good to have like an excitement, just excited for the week. And, we talk to our guys about, whether it's nervousness or anxiety, butterflies, that's not a bad thing, because it means it's really important. It means that they've put a lot into it and they want to perform well. I think it always comes down to your preparation. And if you've prepared the best you can and you're ready and, more than your opponent, and done everything possible all week long, as well as your teammates. And, when you're prepared well, you're going to be confident. And that's the whole key. That's the whole key. And it just doesn't start this week. It's something that's been ongoing since the day the staff got here, since the first day of workouts in the winter. There's just a mindset that's been happening. And, we talk about creating an attitude, not installing special plays that help your attitude. You create an attitude all year long. And so, if you're anxious and things like that, it means you're a little bit unsure. And so I really, I'm excited about the way we've prepared. And so, it's going to be important to these guys. For me, I think it's just a matter of making sure, again, I'm prepared with all the things, whether it's the schedule leading up to kickoff, whether it's just making sure, all the staff is aligned with our communication and how we want that to flow, that our guys understand, all the little details, especially a first game. We've gone through that over the last couple of weeks with little mock games and mock Saturdays, and talked about the hotel on Friday and Saturday, what that's all going to look like. We kind of wrapped that up on Saturday with some final things in the stadium, just on even which sideline and where the benches are and who's sitting where. And we've talked about the tablets and all that kind of stuff, and the coach-to-player communication. There's a lot of new things even this year that are specific to college football, but obviously there's even more when it comes to a new staff and just everyone being on the same page.
Stay in that area, Ryan.
Coach, piggybacking off of that, a two-parter, just to be a part of a Saturday in Tuscaloosa. You were at the spring, but it's obviously a lot different. How excited are you and your family to be a part of that? And I asked Nick as well, do you have any traditions that you do before a game, something you eat, something the fans will learn more about you?
There is not a lot. Pretty boring, probably that way. Not a lot of things that I feel I have to. I mean, it's all about the schedule, and the schedule, I guess, would probably be the thing I feel the most strong about, that you're eating within a certain time frame before the game, and what that morning walkthrough looks like, and kind of roughly when that is. It changes if it's a morning game, afternoon game, evening game, but I also want to hear what our players have done, and so there's a couple things on Friday that we'll tweak maybe from what I've done, and it's really, I've been okay with it at other places. It's just a matter of those teams didn't want to do some of those things. It might be when you do your chapel, might be when you the other activities. Do teams like go to movies and things like that on Friday? So a lot of those things, I think from team to team, it's always different.
Back over to the left side, Tony.
Luke Sherman said you were the one that asked for an injury update. Do you have specific updates maybe on Jaden Roberts, Jam Miller, and Jeremiah Alexander?
Yep. Jaden and Jam, I would expect to practice and be ready to go. And then who's the third one? Jeremiah. Would not probably expect him. And I know, you guys have seen him and just know the timeline, but he'll be close. He'll be close.
Emily Grace, back right.
Coach, this time a year ago, you were prepping for your first game at Washington, and now you're here wearing crimson. What's the most important thing that you've learned about yourself in the last year or so?
I think you just always are confirming the things that you believe in, whether it's football related, whether it's just staff related, and how you bring a team together. You just always trying to adjust and evolve, but also confirm the things that are like your real deep beliefs. And a year ago, a lot of those things continue to just be verified. And as we bring it together, you kind of look to those things and are counting on those things to help build this team and what we're trying to accomplish here at Alabama.
Charlie, on the right side.
Hey, Coach. After the first couple of days of camp, you spoke highly about the steps that Jaylen Milo took. Just how have you seen him maybe continue on that trajectory over the course of the preseason?
Sure, he's been consistent, and that's what I think one of the biggest qualities that you can have is consistent. Obviously you want it consistently at the highest level you possibly can, but I'd really, you want to walk on the field, and this is for any player, but I think this is something that Jaylen's done a better and better job of since we've gotten here, and it's what you're going to get when you get out there. Whether it's the attitude and the effort. Again, the play on the field. There really haven't been some crazy highs or crazy lows. I think he's just continuing to build, continuing to work with his guys, whether it's the offensive line and the communication and making sure he's on the same page with maybe protections, run checks or whatever it might be, the receiving core on timing of routes, a lot of communication. I think he continued to grow and evolve, as well. So the consistency, I really have an appreciation for what he's done. He's been really patient going way back to the spring on letting us, just put the offense in, in the progression that we're used to and the things that we see. You know, you always see things that you want to get in, and these are the things that you did really well, and we get to those. But there's a progression with the teaching that's happening. I just appreciate the patience he's had from the very beginning when we got here on getting through all of it and now being ready to play week 1.
Time for a few more questions, starting with Stephen.
Coach, can you speak on just the consistency of Caleb Oldum as a complete receiver?
Yeah, Caleb, I mean, you know, as a young guy coming in, he really, you know, turned our heads, I know, this spring, just because it felt like he was always lined up in the right spot and never did see him overwhelmed physically with his height. You know, there was times where he actually stood out and made some really big plays and continued to do that. You know, going over the top of guys is something that, you know, is going to be, you know, a great value to our football team, not just this year, but in the years to come. So he's just been steady, you know, that's a great quality. And I think he is someone who really, you know, looks at things and learns from his mistakes, obviously, but also learns from others. And so got a great want to about him. You know, he really wants to do big things, and each and every day puts in the work. So I'm proud of what he's done up to this point. You put him out on the football field, and you're not really like looking at him worried about, man, does he know what he's doing? You know, that's not the case with him.
Got a question standing up all the way in the back.
What would you be thinking about the moment you walk out of the tunnel at game time on Saturday, knowing this is the real thing?
Yeah, I think when it gets to this now, you're in, you know, game mode. And as much as this is a different setting for me, this is another football game, and every game is really big and important. And so you're in game mode, making sure, again, all the kind of the things we had talked about earlier, the communication's all in order, and the teams, you know, what's the coin toss and how are we operating there? Just all those little steps that you take. I can't say it's going to be that much different. I think the spring game for me probably is one of those moments where you have some perspective on, you know, how far we come and as a team and where we're at. But this is about, you know, playing our game and doing what we need to do and making sure we're at the highest level possible.
Go to Nick on the front right, then we'll wrap up with Katie. Go ahead, Nick.
You mentioned the helmet communications. What are you telling your coaches, and what's your approach in terms of not overwhelming with information,
Yeah.
but presenting enough information?
I thought they've done a really good job the last couple weeks. Really, the scrimmages, we really tried to lock in on, you know, the times where, you know, just what's this going to feel like? And there's 2 major scrimmages, but we scrimmage and move the ball a lot against each other, offense and defensively, all through fall camp. And so the just trying to really hone in on that one thing that might be something you say or nothing at all, you know, and trying to learn also when you talk to especially your quarterback, you know, what's he remembering? You know, is it worth saying it at all? I think a lot of times it's probably just going to be worth coming on the sideline. But there are some, I think, key things where you can get something to him right after a play, you know, about the situation, you know, that you might be going into, or, you know, something that maybe just happened that, you know, as maybe there's a delay in the game with officials and things like that, to where you might be able to get a few comments and thoughts in. So I think our staff, especially obviously we're talking about Nick Sheridan, Kane Womack, I think they've done a great job really trying to really refine how they want that communication to happen, and working closely with those players who wear the communication, the devices in their helmets, really, you know, what do you like, what don't you like? So game happens fast. I want to make sure that these guys are able to play fast. The preparation, again, throughout the week, the preparation we've had all fall camp, that's what these guys got to really rely on for most of what they're gonna get. And in between series, hey, we'll talk all we want. The tablets, all that kind of stuff comes into play, and really be ready to go out for the next series.
All right, Katie.
Nick Saban said on ESPN this weekend that when he watched the second scrimmage that it looked like the team still had the same culture from when he was here. Just kind of how do you think you were able to accomplish that, and how much of that was the returning players kind of trying to – and you said when you got here, the standard is Alabama. How were the returning players kind of helpful in keeping that same standard?
Yeah, well, I think Coach certainly pushed that standard each and every day, and fortunately we have a lot of guys who understand what that's supposed to look like. And you know, it's great that we have those leaders, our players. We have some staff, you know, with a few coaches that were here with Coach, and they, you know, they've continued to just be front and center in leading the rest of the guys that are new to the program or new players that have come in, and it's something I know we care for a lot with the culture of our program. You know, it's an important deal to me, and there's a style of play that wins football games, and that's really what we're focused on. But there's a lot of details and a lot of things off the field that are really important to, you know, playing at the highest level and being this program that's been at that level for so many years, so many decades. So, but yeah, I appreciate those comments from Coach and that perspective.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you. Roll Tide.